Now, African Union, East African Community and Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, and Common Market for East and Southern Africa, COMESA, election observers have urged for patience as Kenya works towards the conclusion of its electoral process following the general elections on Tuesday. For more on this story, let's cross live now to our SABC correspondent, Sarah Kimani from Nairobi. Sarah, a very good day to you. Give us a sense, what are the big takeaways from the observer briefing this morning?
Well, the observers are generally satisfied with the electoral process this far. There was the East African Community, the African Union, as well as COMESA, and all of them are saying that this far the process has been free of violence, and Kenyans were able to express their wishes through the ballot freely. And so they believe now what should happen is that Kenyans should be patient as the Electoral Commission continues with the tallying process. They, however, were concerned about some issues, including the low voter turnout, the low participation by young people, and also issues of women being suppressed, especially by gangs hired by their male opponents in several areas where they visited or where they observed the electoral process.
The former president of Tanzania, Jakaya Kikwete, was saying that he has a certain concern about the activities of political parties during the poll, but he was saying it's a backstory that he will involve or include in the final report. Do we know what he was talking about?
Well, they were talking about the fact that young people did not identify with the people that had been nominated, but he was also talking about internal democracy within political parties. He says this time there are several independent candidates, unlike in other elections, and he says when they spoke to these independent candidates, what was coming out is that the political parties did not hold free and fair primaries. So the nominations were largely dominated by the common names, so that if you're not known, or if the political party does not know you and feels that you may not be popular among the electorate, you are not allowed to go through the nomination process. That's why he was saying it's a backstory. He says there is need to ensure democracy within the political parties, because then that way it is extrapolated to the nation. In terms of the youth, he says he feels a lot of young people could not identify with the people on the ballot. A lot of people feel that there is nothing in it for them, even when they vote. Former president of Sierra Leone, who is heading the African Union mission, Ernest Bai Koroma, saying some of the young people they spoke to said they are still jobless even when they vote. They still are not able to put food on the table even when they vote. And so they feel that even though this process has been happening every 5 years, there is really nothing that is changing for majority of Kenyans.
Sarah, can you give us an update on the vote counting?
Well, vote counting is done now. What is happening is the tallying process. The Electoral Commission chairperson, Wafula Chebukati, has just concluded a press conference, and he's saying that he will be the final person to announce the winner. Although television stations here, media houses here have been tallying the process, and so they have disparities in numbers. In one, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is leading with about 5 million votes against Ruto's about 4.5 million votes. In another one, you will see Ruto is on the lead. So he says even though the media is doing the work of trying to tally the forms that are already in the public portal, the final numbers will come from the IEBC. And he still insists that the IEBC has up to 7 days to be able to give the final tally. So we have until Monday, but he is hoping that by tomorrow evening, Kenyans and indeed the world will know who their next leader will be, who the 5th president of Kenya will be. Quite a tedious process, because even though the forms are already in the portal, they still have to receive those forms physically and counter-check them against what is in the portal. And this is what is taking long, because the country is vast and people must travel distances to get to Nairobi, to the National Tallying Center. And once they get there, then the forms that they put in the portals, through you taking pictures and putting in the public portal, then must be counter-checked with the physical forms that the returning officers are bringing to Nairobi.
Former President Jakaya Kikwete had a lot of praise for the IEBC. Is this the general sense on the ground that they've done a good job?
Well, yes, indeed. A lot of people saying that the IEBC has tried a great deal to be credible, to have a transparent process, but they may not have a choice coming out of the 2017 elections, when they faced the Supreme Court and they were forced by the court to repeat the election. But also, the country has gone through several stages of electoral reforms in the laws, so that, for example, what you're seeing now is part of that transparency that has been enhanced by the courts and by the laws that are in place now, in that the forms that come in, the final tally forms, are put in a public portal, so any member of the public right now can be able to tally the results on their own. Of course, it is tedious. It is 46,229 polling stations, so you would have to go through all those forms to be able to come up with who the winner is. Of course, that remains the work of the IEBC, because then they have the capacity, but the process is more transparent this time, and that is why all the observers you have watched were saying that this time the IEBC has tried to be credible, but also they have communicated every step to the public, so that has also increased transparency, credibility and trust in the IEBC.
Of course, we're talking about the presidential candidates, but here in South Africa, we're marking Women's Month, and one of the big conversations about this Kenyan election was the participation of Martha Karua as a possible deputy president. Where does she stand in all of this?
Well, a lot of people are still watching to see if she will be able to deliver for Raila Odinga, because when she was nominated as the running mate for former Prime Minister Odinga, there was excitement in the country, and people said that she may turn the tables for the former Prime Minister and be able to deliver votes. However, she comes from the Mount Kenya region, which has been seen to rebel against its leader, the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta, and so she has not been able to deliver the Central Kenya vote for Odinga, but in a tweet that she sent out last night, she said it's not done until it's done. So she believes there's still a chance for her to be Kenya's first woman deputy president, and of course for Raila Odinga to be president. The two of them are comrades in arms. They have been political detainees. They have fought for multi-party democracy together. So Martha Karua, in terms of political activism, has a checkered career, a beautiful CV, so to speak, and so people will be looking to her as a fighter. But something came out in terms of women participation in this press conference that we have been having. The African Union's lead observer, former president of Sierra Leone, Ernest Bai Koroma, saying that some male opponents hired political gangs. They hired men and young people to fight women candidates, and so the participation of women was suppressed again in this election. President Kikwete insisting that the political parties need to respect the two-thirds gender rule, which says that for any representation, whether in public offices, whether in political parties, whether in elected office, there should not be more than two-thirds of one gender. And so he's insisting that women must be seen to be represented. All observers saying that they were impressed with the participation of young women in the electoral process, whether as political party agents or as observers or as members of the Electoral Commission in terms of polling clerks or electoral officials.
Sarah, thank you so much. You're saying that the final results might be announced in a day or two. Sarah Kimani there talking to us from the Electoral
It's going to be a long wait, but we will be here for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much there from Sarah Kimani.